Hello, welcome to the Catboy Rants. I know we've been off a little bit, mostly because, as you can tell by my voice, I've been a bit sick. So this is going to be something a little bit special. As many of you know, I do, of course, the Catboy the Con comic, but I also do a lot of gaming. Right now, I have a gaming group that is doing a BESM rendition of the Dresden Files. My wife is actually DMing right now on that. I've done it, she's doing it, and we're doing it our own way. So those of you who have watched this, and I know some of our group who've been playing it say, well, wait a minute, wouldn't we do this? We're trying to be truthful to the show, excuse me, to the books, not to the show, to the books. So that's what we're trying to do. There's some things we're tweaking the rules a little bit, but you know what, you got to do what you got to do. Now I bring this up because I want to talk about a few things. One is that everybody's got their favorite type of character to play. Myself, I'm usually the big, dumb fighter. And I mean this. I'm the guy that has the most strength, the most armor, the most weapons. And this happens in almost every game I play. Is that I play that big dumb guy. First one I ever played was a dwarf. I believe his name was Grell. No, Gibble was his name. And wonderful guy. I started playing him in college. Then we kind of fell out once I left college. Ran out of money for it. After that, I met up with some friends of mine. We were working for Maytag, which later became Whirlpool. And they asked me to game with them because they knew I knew some about D&D. So went over, asked them what level we were. I changed Gibble to that level, got the okay from the DM, and that was it. Now, as we were going along, we added more characters. Almost everybody had 2 characters. And I'll bring up that other character later. But with Gibble, I loved him because he had multiple weapons on him. He was carrying at least 300, 400 pounds worth of gear, and that was still light to him. I mean, he could hit very hard. Now, I like him. He got to be level 20, and by that time, we retired him, because once you got to be level 20, you're godlike. A lot of things happened with him, but he was more strict, straight. I mean, when he hit to level 20, he married a woman who started out life as a half-orc that was changed into a dwarf woman, and they married. They started an inn together in a place called Cauldron, those of you who know that game system. And that was it. That was how we ended it with him. Right now, we're playing D&D, and it's going pretty well. I'm playing now, as you may notice, I'm playing another fighter named Rock. He's in half-orc, very low intelligence, but he does well for himself. He doesn't carry as many things that Gibble did, but the reason I'm kind of going with him is because it's kind of I started out playing a paladin, and it was going really well until one of the groups said, well, wait a minute, you're a lawful good paladin traveling in a group with an evil thief. And I was like, well, every time I pinged for evil, she's not there. Every time we are doing something, and I haven't seen her do anything evil, so I have no way to fight her. Now this guy, he was one of, you've all been in a game. Those of you who have played, you've all been in the game where the guy's like, no, you have to do this. You have to go by this rule, because if you don't, you're breaking the rules. You're terrible. So we had to go ahead and do what this guy said. So I was like, fine. You know what, fine. I don't want to play this paladin anymore. It was a great, okay. And it seemed like he got what he wanted, you know. But that's okay, because that's where I got Rock. And Rock is dumb as a rock, but he's got some kick-ass armor. He got it from a dragon that said if you can have this on one condition, you'd have to do for something for me later. She was fine with. It's the best armor for our characters. I mean, it's got massive benefits for shock, frost, fire, you name it. It's got a damage reducer for it. It's the only thing that's really saved my character so far, because I roll like crap. I never get the 20s. I usually roll 1s. So much so my wife got me a shirt that actually says, the dice are trying to kill me. And it's true! The dice are trying to kill me. But that's the way it is. I'm just doing it as I can. Now, I bring up those two characters because really when you play a fighter, there's not a lot you can really do, unless of course you're one of those skilled fighters. I never play a skilled fighter. I keep it simple, stupid. My fighter's gonna go in, he's gonna fight, he's gonna kill, he's gonna maim, he's gonna pillage. I'm not gonna say rape. He's not gonna rape, he's better than that. He's gonna pillage. So, you know, of course he's gonna go in there and say, I would like this, but I don't want that right there because I'm pretty sure that that is something somebody else can use. He'll stay to his weapons, his armor, especially the armor. Now, I bring up another thing, because that's all D&D. And D&D so far has been pretty cut and dry. We don't have a lot of moments, except for one. And again, I'll bring this up towards the end, because I'm talking about the big, brawny fighters. D&D, everything's pretty cut and dry. We have a really good DM. He loves to just mess with you. But really, with our characters, so far, it really hasn't gotten too much. Yes, with the dwarf, Gibble, he really made it so that my character flubbed a roll, and that's why the half-orc lady fell in, fell in love with him. And would do anything for him. My character didn't want this. And the only reason they didn't fight was because my character was neutral. It was good. He was a good character. And this lady, I mean, when she was being beaten, he stood up for her. Come on, guys, he's a good guy. I play the good guys. I know a lot of my characters are dumb, but they're good guys. Some people, when they play a character, they play him like an asshole. I try not to do that too much. Try to play good guys. But that's how I play D&D. Now, another game we play is Vampire the Masquerade. Now, out of our group, we've got a Ventru, a Malk, a Bruja, two Gangrels, a oh goodness, a Tremere, I believe. No, the one that does the magic. Well, anyways, our storyteller for that game is really good. Has done some wonderful things for us. My character, I play the Gangrel. give you a little background on this character. His name is Hours. Those of you who read my comic know who Hours is. He's that little cat guy. Well, this Gangrel has been through so much that he kind of looks kind of furry. In fact, here's a photo of him. See? That's him. Now, I tried to make him as human as possible. I know, it's Gangrel. But he wears glasses, just like I do. He's from the Yakima Reservation. And he's friends with a lot of the natives there. Now the thing is, though, where he's at, he knows a lot of wares. And from the storyteller's point of view, he said, well, that's all right for where you're at, because really, you don't have a Prince of the City where you're at. I mean, that's further up in Seattle and such. But where you're at, on the Yakima Reservation, you've got pretty much free reign for where you got. So I said, cool. And my character, just to let you know, he's one of those guys that he was brought over against his will, was basically ambushed, and later found out that he killed his family in his bloodthirst. He's been looking to try to kill his sire and find out what happened to his baby girl, because that was the only one that didn't die. He knows that. He even got to see her later on. She was an adult, but the thing is, though, this was a full 100 years later. She looked like maybe she was 20. So she had been turned by his sire as well. So, the group that we're in, we have several different roles. My role is more or less just be that guy to go in and help fight. I'm muscle. Oh, we've got a Nos as well. The Nos and me usually go in, and we're the ones that take care of things, as well as, of course, the Bruja, and the other Gangrel. We all go in and we take care of things. We have some interesting stories. One of the ones that made us laugh the most, that we thought we were geniuses at, was one that happened, I believe, 4 or 5 weeks ago. Could be wrong, but I believe it was 4 or 5 weeks ago, where we are charged to go to a base of these very high holy guys to kill them. We don't care. We're going to go. We're going to kill them. So, myself, the Bruja, the Gangrel, the Malk, the Magic Using one, and the Nos, we all go. The Magic User makes herself like a ghost and heads in. She spots everything for us. Then we go in and kill it. Simple. Now, we're in this warehouse. We've just killed everything. What do we do now? Well, we've got this little, it's like a hangar bay. There are many troop carriers, land-based, and there's a fuel depot in there, and there's this hatch towards the back. Well, one of our group goes down, finds out, holy shit, they're all downstairs and they all know we're here. So, they're waiting for us to come down the hatch. So we decide what we're going to do. Me and the Nos get an idea. My idea is just to cover up the hole with one of the cars, and it turns out there's actually a Poke-mobile up there. So my idea is cover up the hole with the Pope-mobile and throw down a bunch of grenades. Because on my guy, I've got a total of 6 different types of grenades. At least 12 of each spread out on my character. I've got 2 sawed-off shotguns with my special blend of ammunition for it, which is your buckshot coated in peyote. So that way, once I shoot somebody with it, if it doesn't kill them, they're infected with this peyote. Now this peyote is very concentrated. How concentrated? My character and one of his buddies who's aware packed it. Never cut themselves, just packed it, bare hands. 2 to 3 days later, they woke up. They didn't know what happened. They really don't. One of them was shaved all the way over, and the other one was painted blue. The wearer was shaved. My guy was painted blue. They don't know what happened. They don't. They still don't. Nobody from town can tell them what happened because they did it all out at his place, which is out in the middle of nowhere. So, he's also got at least 20 throwing daggers on him, 6 swords, and 1 longsword that goes down the length right here like blade. He's got 2 different types of armor, and the only thing that's not armored on this guy is his hat. It's an old cowboy hat with an eagle feather in it. That's it. Well, the NOS has a better idea. Remember I said this had a fuel depot. The NOS grabs the nozzle from the pump, crushes it, and just lets the fuel flow down into this hole. Now, we ask the storyteller, how big is this tank? He says, well, it's big enough to fill up several jets, several large aircraft carriers, so that's enough to fill that whole area down below, at least to give a few inches. And they're like, well, what do we do now? And I said, well, I got an idea. We find one of the vehicles. Like I said, we had a Pope-mobile. And we move it over, get rid of the tires, and it just drops with enough room to throw in that grenade. Now we wait a little bit. We hear some guys coming up the thing, throw down the grenade, get in one of the vehicles, and take off. It explodes, and you can see, I mean, it's so loud that it shakes the van that we're in. Excuse me, the troop carrier we're in. Now, we asked the storyteller, is that the only opening? He goes, well, you do see some smoke coming out from the forest. Vents. So we follow the vents to an opening. It looks like an old cave. But it's paved. So we know this looks like some sort of, like they were flying in and out of it. So we park the troop carrier right there, right at the opening. We all get out, and as soon as we do, a jet comes through and slams right into it, blocking that whole area. And we're very happy, because we've got a rendezvous point we've got to meet to, and we've just finished up what we were supposed to do. The magic user decides they're going to go in and see what's going on. Well, they use their incorporeal status. They go in, of course rolling every time to make sure they don't freak out because of the fire. Because in VTM, that's one of the things you're really afraid of, is fire. So that's why our guys stayed far, far away. Because, you know, vampires go up like that. Well, she goes in, she looks, and she notices that the mages that are in there, yeah, these guys have mages, have put up a barrier to keep the jet fuel out and keep the fire out. Good idea. The other mages are using magical spells to separate water. They're creating water and then separating the hydrogen from the oxygen atoms. Now, a lot of you are thinking, that's a good idea. They could stay down there for a long time. Just keep on repeating. No. We don't breathe just oxygen. You know what happens when you have just oxygen? Boom! boom. Also, down there, amongst some of these guys, these zealots, were vampires. Yeah. Some of these mages were vampires. And they started freaking out. And they started attacking people. And as soon as that oxygen went up, yeah, remember, they were turning things to oxygen. That vaporized everything down there. Well, we all group up. We're leaving. We meet up with our rendezvous because they're thinking, well, what do we do? What if we meet up with a police officer? Because fire trucks are coming in. And everybody's, oh, well, we'll tell them we were hunting. They look at my character. Like I said, he's packed. He's loaded for bear. They get, well, what about him? He took hunting from Ted Nugent. Well, that's what we'll tell him. Well, luckily we didn't run into a police officer. We got into the back of the van that we were meeting for the rendezvous point, and we got back. I love that because the game master, our storyteller, was planning on us going down there and fighting all these guys, which we could have done, but he never thought we would take the other route, which I love. You know, I mean, anytime you do these games, you always want to see what the players actually do. Our GM says he was in a game where this guy had developed this wonderful labyrinth, this wonderful dungeon, and had set it all up, told the guys, you guys are really going to have to fight for it. And instead of going down to the dungeon, the guys go, well, how much gold do we have? He told them how much. And they said, okay. They went to town, bought a bunch of wagons, bought a bunch of oil, drove it all the way to the dungeon, dumped it down into the dungeon, because of course it's sloping down. This is one of those sloping down dungeons. Did that with all the oil they could, went back to town, and did that until they were almost out of money. Then, they threw a torch into the dungeon and let everything burn. Now they got plenty of XP for that, because that's legitimate. You can legitimately do that. Only bad thing is, though, everything was burned to a crisp down there, so no loot. No fat loot. But they didn't care, they wanted the XP. And that's when they totally don't think about it. And I've been in a situation like that. I've done a Dresden Files adventure where I was the GM, and my characters were in another dimension. They had what I do is I take little things from the Yakima area, little mystical things, little supernatural things. Because for those of you who don't know, Yakima, the Yakima area, is actually rated one of the top 10 supernatural areas in the world. Yeah. Kevin Arnold, the guy who saw the first UFOs, he saw them over Mount Rainier as he was going over the Yakima area. A lot of alien abductions, a lot of ghosts, spirits, demons, what have you. We see a lot of that stuff out here. So those of you who are really into it, come down to Yakima. Anyways, they had traveled down, for those of you who don't know, Mel's Hole. Look it up. They had fallen to Mel's Hole following one of the one of those fallen angels from Dresden Files. Oh, come to me later. Anyways, they follow one of Lashiel's, not Lashiel, but of one of Nicodemus's brood down into Mel's Hole. When they go down there, they find it's a world that's been taken over by Nazis, because apparently some of the coins, some of the black and Denarian, the black and Denarian coins had fallen into this world and picked up by certain key Nazis. And so they took the Denarians and the coins, took over these people, and basically helped them win the war. Now you have magic and everything on that, but everything gets topsy-turvy because in this world, technology and magic don't have any issues. You can have a wizard with a laptop, and he'll be fine. You can have people with cell phones and casting spells at the same time. In fact, in this world, Harry Dresden and Count, the Count from, oh, damn it. Anyways, the Count, the one that had tried to kill him in the duel, of the Duel of Wheels, he and Harry are friends. Harry is actually the head of the White Council, what's left of it. And they're fighting to get back America. We'll get back the world. Because the Denarians have not only have they figured out how to make proto-Denarians without using the coins. What they'll do is they take part of themselves and they recreate them, cloning. And so you have all these master race of these half Denarian, half humans that can take a massive amount of damage. So the whole thing that they first had to do was kill the queen and one of her guards at the airport. Now, this is how it's planning it. They go there, the plane lands, or it has to land underneath its own power because something happens. They get on the plane, they fight, maybe one or two gets really hurt, but in the end, they take them down. No problem. I should have never told them, because in this world, if you've ever seen little pixies, little gremlins, well, they told these little pixies, we want you to go to the plane and check it out. Check all the fluid. Now, they love the pixies, because they later followed them through to the other world, back to our world. And in that world, they found that these pixies do exactly what they say. So they checked all the fluid. They never put it back. All the fluid that helped move the hydraulic fluid, they checked it. They drained it all out, made sure it was hydraulic fluid, never put it back in. All the little areas that there was water or any type of fluid, they checked it, never put it back in. They checked all the fittings, never put it back. So you have this plane coming in for a landing, then all of a sudden explodes and just comes to Earth and just like that, because all the pieces, all the bolts, the nuts and bolts and everything have come apart. And just like a box of Legos just being spilled on the floor. Now that's enough to basically, and the explosion of course, is enough to basically cause the Denarians that were on there to be nearly dead. I checked. They were more than half dead. So they go in there, do the coup de grace on both of them. Take the coins. Make sure, of course, not to touch them. Now all you got to do is kill the last one. I throw a lot of flunkies at him. And they succeed. Not only do they succeed, they kick ass! And so, they come back, everything's taken care of. And I'm thinking, my plan is to make this last at least a couple weeks in battles. One game setting. One night. Got it done. Those who DM and those who GM, they know about that. What it's like to have that happen. Because you sit there all week, plan everything out, think you've got it all figured. And in the end, you find out that all his planning, all the little traps you set, all the little things you put in there to make sure that it's going to be a long, drag out, haul-ass kind of fight. It's over in 2 seconds flat. Because they found the loophole. And I will tell you something. that is a good thing. Now you may not think that, but it is a good thing. Now I go through all that to tell you about the one time I go against what I usually do. And like I said, I go and I play the tough, stupid battle tank. One time I don't do it, I am now forever banned playing that style character. What I played was a bard. His name was David of Bowie. They found him on another realm. He didn't have jack squat for equipment, and they let him join. Which I was happy about. This was at the time where we had two characters. We needed it because our DM thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw something at you. Nearly everybody got killed. So we thought, okay, every person's going to have another character. Now, he then upped the difficulty on everything, so that's fine. It evened out. But it also ruined XP, so what have you. So, David of Bowie. First time he ever does anything. I mean, this was my character. He couldn't do jack. Gibble was the character that could go out and he could kill. He could go ahead and just clear a room. Most of the time when I rolled for Nish, I didn't even worry about David. Yeah, of course I did inspire courage, you know. And I did little things like I sang everything that he did. Actually, I did. It's like, what are you doing? Ken, what are you doing? I am gonna sing right here, sing right here, sing right here. I'd do that, and I would keep going until they told me to shut the hell up. I loved that character. It was fun. But these are the things that get me banned from playing a bard. First thing, we're in the lair of a red dragon. I believe it was a red dragon. We're sitting in there. The dragon awakes. I'm sitting there going, fascinate! It works! I can't believe it! It was wonderful. So I'm fascinating him. And we steal all his shit. After we're almost done, and I'm sitting there going, I've only got 2 rounds left. Someone help me now. Because as soon as I stop, he'll realize what we did and he'll burn my ass. Well, one of our group, he was a little elf, actually, a little gnome, and we called him Lord Farquaad. He wasn't, but we called him Lord Farquaad. Had some really nice gear. He had massive reflex. He was immune to fire, what have you, acid. He was like, there's nothing this dragon can do that'll hurt me. So he popped down on this rock, pulled down his pants, and said, come on, baby, try it. That's when I stopped. I hightailed it for the other side of the room, where we could all escape. Unfortunately, the dragon used disintegrate on poor Farquaad. So he died. He's like, but wait a minute, isn't that a reflex? He goes, yeah, roll. He didn't make it. So he died badly. So the second thing is the dragon showed up again. And Cauldron, that was the city we were in, was just being torn apart. And it showed up, and I fell in the water. David did, and he picked him up, and he carried him off. Now, David was very pissed off at us. And he said, I'm going to kill you if you don't find a way for me not to. Well, my character said, well, I'm very sorry for what we did, and I talked my way out of it. And after we became friends, and I told him, look, I want to tell you something. Do you remember that the half dragon that was in our group? Anyways, I say, she remembers you. She wants you. She saw you in the last battle, saw you flying. I could see the look in her eye. Well, after it takes a little negotiation, but finally he decides he's going to go. But I tell him, look, you need to change form. You kind of human. So he does. And we go to Cauldron. Things have been cleaned up. I've been gone, I think it was a month. Everybody thought I was dead. A lot of people hoped. Show up. My group's like, where the heck were you? We thought you were dead. And I said, I know, but I wasn't. It was with my man. And they said, take one look at him. He's looking good. He's looking real good. And so I go to the half-dragon. I say, hey, you need to do this. He's going to eat me. And she's like, I don't care. And I'm like, no. You need to do this. Just humor him. Take him out for a little bit. And then let him down gracefully. So, we go. They go out on their date. I'm there. I'm, in the sidelines, just going, bardic music, giving him some atmosphere. She does let him down. He takes it pretty bad. He's like, I want to lay waste to this world. I'm like, no, don't do it. Maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe she probably wasn't the best person for you. There's plenty of other women in the sea. Come on, let's go down to the tavern and have a drink. Again, more, that bardic tongue coming out and say, come on, man. Come on, Cletus, come on. Well, we go down to the tavern. We walk in, and like I said, this guy was looking fine. Very fine. Suave. Think Fabio in his heyday. Well, he was 8 foot tall. All the ladies in the tavern take one look at him and go, oh, moist. I'm singing. I'm doing my thing. Unfortunately, the women know who I am. And they ask, who's your friend? I said, that's my buddy. He's new in town. Treat him right. They get him a little drunk. When I mean a little drunk, that's like saying the Grand Canyon's a little hole. All the women in town, I'm talking, well, not all the women, like 98% of the women in town, non-married women, and those who are not in love with other gnomes, take this man to bed. Not David Bowie, the dragon. And they get it on all night long. Things happen. The next day he gets up. All the women are very pleased. I've been, tied up all night. One of our group, who was a cleric, goes to a temple and uses his wish. He had an ultimate wish that he had never used. And he uses his wish to basically make everyone forget what happened. Dragon left, didn't know what was going on. Later, turns out he met up with 2 ladies, took them back to his place, his cavern, and as far as I know, they're there to this day. All the ladies, all they know is they woke up, and they felt very good, and they went about their duties. My guy woke up, didn't know why the hell he was trussed up. Skip ahead 9 months. We actually did that. I said, skip ahead 9 months. All these women are now pregnant. They don't know why. Some of them are thinking, well, who was I with 9 months ago? The only person who knows, the only person is the cleric. Now, after it becomes apparent that some of these women are popping out half-red dragon babies, the cleric says, oh, it was his fault, David of Bowie. What? Yeah, he let a red dragon in and he seduced all the women. Not the truth. My guy didn't do that. He just brought them into the tavern to have some drinks. The women sexed up the dragon. It wasn't my fault. It's never David Bowie's fault. Well, they almost killed him. Luckily, he was saved by a succubus. And when he finally reached level 20, he and the succubus went on the road. Yes, she was in love with him, and he, of course, was in love with himself, which was good enough. And she couldn't feed off him, because it's like Zap Brannigan, okay? The guy wouldn't be looking at the Medusa, he'd be looking at it himself. Now, he'd maybe look at the Medusa's breasts, but he wouldn't look at her in the eyes. Why look at the eyes when she can, you know? So, and they went out traveling, doing songs and such. She performed, you know, stripping. He did the singing and such. The first traveling trollop. Because of that, because of all the stuff my bard got people into in Cauldron, they took me aside and they said, Ken, you are no longer allowed to play bards. So, that's it. That's why I stick to the dumb guys. Because if I play the smart guy and I start thinking up things, I get the raw end of the stick. It's not my fault. It's not David Bowie's fault. It's their fault for trying to sex up a dragon. You know, all I was doing was bringing him down, getting him some drinks. I wasn't going to get him drunk, get a little buzz. You know, he's my band. He's my buddy. So, right now what we're doing is, my wife, like I said, she's doing Dresden Files. In that game, I'm playing a changeling, a gruff changeling. He's big and he's dumb. And recently, the character was taken to a farm out in I believe Wapatour Toppenish, on the outskirts. And he was promised beer and wenches. Even stopped in Wapatour and said, there's no wenches here. And they're like, well, they're going to be at the house. And, oh, okay. Yeah, and he got his ass kicked. Because I rolled terrible. But we'll see how that goes, because right now we're right in the middle of playing it. We had some people say, well, no, we wanted to do it for this way for skills. And like I said, for those of you out there who and that's the thing, with BESM, the people we're playing with, one of them who is our regular game master for D&D, he is one of the playtesters, the original playtesters for BESM. One of the other guys I play with, he's another playtester too, but he's not a big, you know, rules hog about it. Now, the one that is the rules, not so much a rules hog, but he wants to make sure we get everything right. Even though, of course, we're playing it our way. He does this. He goes to conventions and he actually plays these out. He has anime games that he plays out. Like this last weekend, Easter weekend, he was at SakuraCon in Seattle, and he was playing games. He does some great stuff. So anytime you're in Washington State and you're going to one of the conventions, one of the big gaming conventions, like Dragonflight or RadCon or SakuraCon, check him out. His name, he does some really nice BES games, some GURPS games. I recommend it because he's one of those DMs that he doesn't try to kill you. He tries to make you just embarrassed that you're still alive. Case in point. I'll leave you this before we go. I was playing Demon City Shinjuku with, everybody made their own character. I was the only one who didn't go as a full-on fighting character. What I was I put all my points into seduction. Now, I will let you know, before, at that point, I had not seen Demon City Shinjuku. I know, a lot of people are thinking, wait a minute, you claim you're an otaku and you've never seen it. I've seen it now. In fact, behind the camera, I've got not my full collection. My full collection is in the bedroom and in the closet. But I've got a big collection behind the camera. And one day I'll show what I've got behind. And like I said, that's like maybe not even a fourth of what I have. But I played the guy who had seduction. The only thing he had to fight with was a cane that did 1 point of damage. And as we were going along, I fought this creature. And I killed it. Well, I didn't kill it. The rest of the group killed it. I hit it for the fight. Hit it for the takedown. The 1 final point of damage, and it killed it. And I was smug about it. I then charmed a succubus. And I was holding her on. I said, don't worry, lady, it's all right. I'm here. I'll protect you. And then, the next thing that came out killed my character. Now, those of you who know BDSM, you have several different layers of death. Mine was even the tiniest cell in my body was dead. Yeah. This thing came out of the ground and killed me. And they said, that does, I think it was 80 points of damage. And they said, Ken, how many points of health do you have? And I said, 20. And they said, you're dead. I said, I know. They said, no, you don't understand. If you said you had 70 health points, which the minimum for anybody in that group was at least 100, because they all took damn healthy. If you had at least 70, you'd still be, unconscious. You wouldn't be dead, but you'd be, pretty hurting. You wouldn't be able to move or do anything, but you'd be able to, be alive. No, you are dead. 100%. You are the parrot from Monty Python. You are dead. And so, I stood up. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, I'm going to go to bed then. And you know what? Sometimes you just got to do that. Stand up. Say, hey, there's not much more I can do. So I'm going to bed. So I'll leave you with that. And, of course, I'll leave you with one more thing. Before I say, of course, please, if you want to see more, let me know. Tell me what you want to see, what you want me to rant about, if you want me to do a review. I would like to talk about one thing next week. That is, of course, a movie that I like just to watch, just for the hell of it. Those of you who have never seen it before, I'd recommend it. Again, remember, I will do this for spoilers. And that's why you just skip past until I do this again. But I just want to let you know, for those of you who know it, don't stand behind me, or else you're going to get kicked. Till next time, enjoy the hams.
3 hams will certainly kill him. 3 hams.
3 hams will kill him. 3 hams will kill him. I shouldn't feed him.